So I was giving this presentation to a national sales group for a large FMO, IMO. They asked me to talk about future trends and technology. And I said, well, the better question to start from is what's the value of an advisor going to be in a post artificial superintelligence world? And I shared with this group that I was listening on my plane ride from Grand Rapids to Jacksonville, that I was listening to the former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, talking about AI. And he was specifically talking about AGI, artificial general intelligence, and we're not quite there yet, and ASI, artificial superintelligence. And so superintelligence is the idea that the machine can actually improve on its own without any human touching it. And I think every advisor should go spend some time watching some thought leaders talk about ASI, because it's mind-blowing. He said, and I don't know if this stat is true, but this is what hit me and made me change my presentation to this. It's about 100 people at this sales event. He said 30 to 40% of the code that's being written now by these large LLMs, so Chat and Anthropic, he said 30% of that is actually being done by the AI itself. Meaning we're getting really, really close. It's actually speeding up to the spot where he thinks we're going to get to like AGI within 18 months. And ASI within like 3 to 5 years. And what this means for advisors, I think we really need to go back and ask ourselves, what's the value of an advisor in a world in which the things that we do now, financial planning, rebalancing portfolios, trading, building like fund, like imagine all that stuff is done in seconds. But now imagine that all the consumers know that all that stuff can be done in seconds. Right? It's not about whether we're using the tool to do it or whether or not. It's about the fact that the world is going to wake up to the fact that this stuff can be done by anybody with a smartphone. So the most important thing, I believe, for an advisor to get really clear on is, how do I then help people understand the right questions to ask? And so I asked everybody in the audience, I said, how many of you here have used ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or some type of, LLM? And probably 2/3 of the people raised their hand. I said, how many of you use it on a regular, everyday basis? And about 25%. I said, okay, if you opened up Chat or opened up Claude right now and just stared at it, does anything happen? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, that's the state of artificial intelligence today. The human advisor still needs to know the question and the instructions to give this thing. And I said, I think even if or when we get to ASI, it's going to be the human advisor's job to help the consumer understand the questions and the instructions to tell the AI engine what to do. And that's where we need to be, which means it's deeply empathetic. It's about helping them orient around what's most important to them. It's about helping them get clarity. And so what would have been a conversation, Dave, to this group about trends in technology or what's going on in the industry, I actually said, we're going to go back to the very beginning of where an advisor should be, which is this is a deeply personal business. So if I was thinking about how to skill up for the future as an advisor, technology is a component, like don't be blind to it, but start spending time in learning how to be better with your EQ, learning how to ask better questions, building your own process for how you help a client make a decision so it can be repeatable. Because if we get to ASI and you have something like that built, like these are the steps that I take every client through to help them make the right decision for them, you could plug that into your technology now and you could become a better advisor, right? But if your value proposition is, I do personal planning and then I allocate your assets to a model portfolio, like, right. So.
I think the communication is going to get so much easier and automatic as we do it through email. Like I could tell, not right now, but there's a tool where Ron is an Enneagram this, Myers-Briggs this is how he understands things. And everything I write is perfectly tailored to you. So it's like, he gets me. But the thing that's going to be gone is I meet you in person or via screen if we're live, and I'll have no idea how to communicate with you. And it'll be, who am I talking to? So I think that what you said around the EQ and the communication and the ability to have the stories, and that what Arthur Brooks talks about, like the crystallized intelligence.
Yes.
We've got this. I can't remember the first intelligence, which declines as you get older, and that's normal. But then there's all this experience and wisdom and things that have built up. Learning how to utilize that, people still want that. Maybe in 20 years or 30 years, it'll be different with how they interact with AI. But I think I told you that story of the guy who's building the AI advisor planning firm, and the pitch was kind of like they upload their statements and they get a plan very quickly. I'm like, wow, that's incredible and a little scary. How long until the AI is just talking to them and delivering the plan? And he's like, they don't want that. Like, we've tested it, or we've surveyed or done whatever.
Humans
And
want to work
people-
with humans, not a machine. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it'll be great if you're in the business as a person who wants to help people and help them make smart decisions, because we'll have all the technical stuff being done, which is cool and it'll be good. But having the ability to communicate that and to get people excited about it and to stick with it, I think is still needed.
Yeah, I'll tie this. So I was fortunate enough, I got to speak at the University of Michigan, the Ross School of Business. They invited me to come in and talk. They had a fintech symposium. Felt like the old guy going back to school, right? But the head of HR for Stripe was there, and there were some other people there from some pretty large companies. And the Q&A there's probably about 200 MBA students there, and these are walking finance brains, right? And they were asking questions like, well, what are the things that you would look for on a resume, Ron? Or they asked that to the Stripe person. And actually, it's shifting for us. I don't care where you went to school anymore. I said, no offense to all of you that are here getting really great educations. I said, what I'm mostly interested in are people well-spoken and can communicate well. And they said, why? I said, well, as an example, the downside to having writing tools is that you become reliant on it and you can't do it on your own. We've seen this in studies because so many people, the TikToking and the texting, that when it comes to them writing in long form or communicating, it's terrible grammar, but they don't even know, right? And when you don't know what good communication looks like or poor communication looks like because you're just used to taking the output from an engine, right? That starts to erode our ability to actually be valuable. And so I said, if you want my advice, all of you guys have, deep financial knowledge and quant knowledge and probably pretty high IQs. Spend some time actually reading broadly and deeply. Spend some time writing physically, right? Because it's the only way that you'll be able, in my opinion, to spot bad communication is if you go back to, some of the classics and some of the best, written books and pieces, and you ingest that. That allows us to see good versus bad. It's just like with financial planning. If you don't understand the math that went into it, you can't grasp the concept and think strategically. You just take the output on, from eMoney or whatever, and you're like, it's got to be true. You're like, well, maybe your input was wrong over here, but you didn't know it because you don't have a conceptual understanding of how it actually works. And they found that really interesting. I got a lot of feedback, and I think this is the part for advisors to be really thoughtful about is humans want to work with humans, and the ability to deliver wisdom, which is what Nick Murray says we do, right? So Nick Murray says, right, we are selling wisdom. The ability to deliver wisdom is contingent upon being able to communicate well and being able to see the world from our client's eyes, which requires a high degree of empathy and listening skills. And I think that's something that a lot of advisors, myself included, were very weak in. So I've thankfully had about a decade of my coach telling me, Ron, your EQ is not great. You need to read this book on it and this book on it, and you need to practice it, because otherwise my DISC profile and my Enneagram is, I see this, I know this is what we should be doing. And if you don't learn to see the world through your client's eyes, your ability to actually give them wisdom is significantly limited.